So stage one, change how you think and feel. A lot of people hear that and they say that's easier said than done. How do you just change what you think about things? And it does seem easier said than done if you've never actually looked for ways to do it. But I have looked for ways to actually change what you think. There's a lot of them in the Fast Way course. We're going to talk about one today. It's called Get Clear on Your Fear. Most of the time, when we feel fear, not that fear of physical pain and threat of injury, but the fear of loss of events or tangible actions in life, it occurs to us as very vague, usually not even in these words. We don't even give it this much specificity, but for the purposes of talking about it, we have fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of getting hurt, fear of embarrassment, fear of criticism. People fear falling in love or losing love, but we tend to think of these big umbrella fears. The problem when we leave it as a big umbrella fear, fear of judgment, fear of criticism, is that when it remains vague and unspecified, it self-reinforces the anxiety. It self-reinforces not taking action. I'm afraid of failure. When it's that big, it's hard to tackle it. So it just makes us continue being afraid of failure. That was me when I started off my filmmaking career. I'm afraid of failure. Standing in my trailer, breathing, trying to put that patch over it, calm down, okay, walk into it, put the patch over it instead of ripping that Band-Aid off. So step one on getting clear of your fear is to dig beneath that large general umbrella fear and get specific about it. I'm going to use being judged as an example. I'm afraid of being judged. I'm afraid of being criticized. Get really specific. Actually take out a piece of paper and go through the exercise of asking yourself, what and who am I really afraid of? It might be 5 things, 10 things, 20 things. For the purposes of the slides today, I've just done a couple. For me, I'm afraid of being judged, is I'm afraid colleagues will make fun of me. Or when I was in a work situation wanting to put out an idea for a film or a script, I'm afraid I'll lose my job if people make fun of me, or if my boss doesn't think well of me, and I'll lose my income. I could make 20 things on a piece of paper about what I was specifically afraid of when it comes to being judged. So whatever the fear is that pops up for you, whether it's criticism or fear of failure or fear of losing somebody, not falling in love, being in love with you anymore, get really specific. Where do I think this will go in my life? What are the tangible, practical outcomes that I think will come? Make that list. Get clear on your fear. Step 2 is then reverse it. And there's no mental gymnastics to this. It's really, really easy at this point. The hard part's coming up with the list, digging down and going, what am I really afraid of? The step 2 is the easy part. I'm afraid of being judged. I'm afraid colleagues will make fun of me. I literally just reverse it. My colleagues will respect me for showing boldness. There's no mental gymnastics. You just reverse what you're telling yourself into the opposite. I'm afraid I lose my job and income. My initiative will be rewarded with a promotion and a raise. When you have a list of 5, 10, 15, 20 things that you're afraid of, you can't do this with the umbrella. I'm afraid of being judged. It can't just turn into I'm not afraid of being judged, because that doesn't mean anything to us. We'll just go, well, yes, I am. It's too vague. But when you write down the 5, 10, 15, 20 things that you're really afraid of specifically, those things you can turn around. And then a lot of people say, how does that change my feeling? Well, the good news is it happens automatically. When you reverse those specifics, a long list of them, and you start to tell yourself that list, read it in the morning, in the midday, in the evening, read it the next day, read it every day. The more you start to tell yourself the positive things instead of the negative things, your feelings will automatically change. It's a human condition. It can't be avoided. When you think, I'm afraid colleagues will make fun of me, you will naturally feel anxiety, embarrassment, shame, insecurity. Our feelings come from our thoughts. When you think, my colleagues will respect me for being bold, you will begin to feel pride, confidence, excitement, anticipation. It is the natural result of feeling positive, of thinking positive. A lot of people ask, will those feelings falter? They will. Of course they will. This is not an instant process. But I have learned over the years, and if you read Napoleon Hill, you'll see this example. The mind is like a garden. You have to first start by pulling weeds. If your garden is full of weeds and you just start to plant flowers full of negative thoughts and you just start to plant positive thoughts, the weeds are going to take over the flowers. You have to start by pulling the weeds out, getting rid of those negative thoughts, and then planting the flowers. You have to give the flowers space in the garden of your mind to grow. A lot of Band-Aid patches, the I'm good enough kind of self-affirmation, stop here. Just keep telling yourself this. I believe in going another step. We have to tend the garden. This has to become, as we'll get into, a practice. Because when the flowers take root, when you tend the garden long enough and the flowers take root, fewer weeds begin to grow. And the same happens in your mind. Positive thoughts become habit. Positive emotions flow more freely. It starts to become easier and easier and easier. And here's the best part. When you start to think and feel differently, you will automatically start to speak and act differently. It all flows from the beginning. Change your input and start to change how you think. When you start to change how you think, that will automatically change how you feel. When you start to change how you feel, that will automatically start to change how you speak and act.